good morning, and good morning. How are you doing this morning? Oh man, great weekend. Went fast. Here we are already in another month. Today is May 1st, and my birthday is child, on the 13th. I'm getting older. Hopefully, I'm getting wiser. I'd like to believe that I'm getting wiser in the right ways instead of the wrong way. So I am excited about that. I'm hoping you all have had a great weekend that you can attest to. That's going to be fun for you beginning this new month, excuse me, and this new week. Today, they always said that it wasn't Sunday that begins the week. It is a Monday. What do you have planned for this Monday? Well, for me, I felt it was really important to start off the month of May talking about mother. And, I always talk to you all when I'm talking to you about my mother and how important I think my mother was, and still is, and still is. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Miss Marion Walker. How are you doing, my dear, dear friend? Hope you're doing well up there in Carolina, in the North Carolina area. I'm doing well. Just excited to see that the Lord still has me here. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. But I wanted to talk a little bit about mother because I just think sometimes we forget who we were given and why we were given such an awesome character to believe in, to follow. And I can honestly say that in my work past, my counseling, I know that not everybody found that person that I may be thinking of, or maybe that you even know, as having grown up with a mother that maybe wasn't there as much. And sometimes, we have to say, but we found somebody else that was like a mother. And even though my mother has been gone for years, I've had so many other women who stepped up to the plate that just want to be my understanding for kindness and love and concern and trust and will and belief. There was just so many things that I got from, not just, it wasn't just my mother, but it might have been somebody else's mother, certainly doing right by me. And so I'm honored by that. I'm always honored. And right now, there's probably 4 or 5 different young people who feel that I stand in the gap. And that's what a mother does. She will stand in the gap. And I said, it doesn't have to be your mother. It can be anybody that's just willing to take on the possibility of just loving and caring for someone else who may not know what it is to have somebody around them like that. But I cherish it. I really do. So I found a few of these cute little um, sayings that people said, they stated, that were actually pretty cool about mothers. Good morning, Deb. Hey, hey, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? Um, and Debbie is a mother. Marion is a mother. I'm a mother. So we know what it is to raise children, and the honor is that they can look at us and say that they see something, learn something, was loved by someone like who we are. That's just the way life is. So anyway, here's a couple of these little quotes that I found. And this one I really like. It was written by the Golden Girls. It says, "It's not easy being a mother, but if it were, fathers would do it." Cute, huh? I think that's kind of cute. Here's another one written by an unknown. It says, "Moms are like buttons, they hold it all together." Do we not? We do. We do. Sometimes we hold it together even when we don't want to hold it together. We're trying to hold it together. Good morning, Deb. Hey there. How are you? And Deb is also a mother. DB, we call her, or Deb. So we would like to say that we hold it together for our children. We hold it together for even others who look to us like they're our children and they are not. It says, here's another one. It says, One of the most important relationships we'll have is the relationship with our mothers. That's good. That's Yana Van Zant. Think about that. When we think about what we learned, what we didn't learn, because we have to also talk about the period in which our mothers were brought up. Just like there's a period that we were brought up which was different from our mothers, so we know the difference between what they taught us and what we were able to teach our children. And I believe that the next generation will teach their children something else that we didn't get around to, especially since the new generation has so much electronic stuff. They're going to have all these bots which are, basically their artificial intelligence. So I don't know who will be teaching their children in the absence or even the presence of a mother, but it definitely is showing that, even this morning on television, it spoke about how certain jobs will not be around in the future, like secretarial jobs or attendants when you're checking out of stores, none of that. So it says that you really need to look at becoming more IT related, you're IT relatable and involved, that you understand what's happening and that you stay up with it. That makes sense to me because I'm doing it right now. Who would have ever known that I would be, broadcasting something on a streaming device and not in person, or not just typing it out, or maybe just, listening, auditorily. So I'm just amazed at how life has changed in terms of information and how people get it. And we have to be a part of the forwardness of what's next. It says, yes, my mom grew up without her mother. Right. Now my grandmother and mother lived with us. So it was that I called my mother, and grandmother I called her mama. Similar names. However, my older brothers and sisters called my mother Lily, which was my mother's first name. And then they called grandmother Mama. So it just depends on how the household is configured. Or if you even live, in your house, you may be living in someone else's house, such as, foster care, or another relative, an auntie's house or uncle's house or whatever. So it does happen. Here's another one of these nice little things about mother quotes. It says, a mother is the truest friend we have. That was written by Washington Irving. Washington Irving. Many schools are named after Washington Irving. The last one I have is by Honey Country. It says, everything good to me I got from my mama. Everything good to me. How many of you could make up something right on the quick of what your mother meant to you in a small quote? I would say from my mother, my mother Lily was fierce, funny, and fantastic, all in one. That's what she was. She was fierce, funny, and fantastic, and she could lay down some bad language. Sorry. But she could. She was good at that. she was very, very good at that. But anyway, when we break down the word mother, but before I do, I'm going to ask you, are you stuck? Are you stuck this morning? If you still have your mother, do you plan on doing something special for her on Mother's Day, or do you do it all the time? Because sometimes we don't necessarily need a special day. We can do something special for people anytime we get ready, especially if it's our mother, but it may be a sister. My sisters were old enough to be, with the exception of the last one, old enough to be my parents by the time I came along. So I was treated like I had several mothers in the same house. So I had my mother, my grandmother, and then my older sisters, when they came to visit, because they were all married by then, by the time I came along. So anyway, it talks about a mother. What is a mother? It says a mother is a woman in relation to her child or children. It's a female parent. It's the biological mother. It's the birth mother. It could be the foster mother. the adopted mother, the stepmother, the surrogate mother, it says it may be the matriarch, the mama, the it says the ma, the mammy. I never really liked that word. I never liked mammy, but I know it was used, especially in the South. It was used during a period of time. There's the old dear, the old lady, and the mommy. We called our mother mommy. The last four of us did. I don't know. What did you call your mother? What was the name you called her? Did you call her by her first name? Did you call her by mom, mommy, mama? What'd you call her? Write it in there. Ma. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Um, so anyway, when we break this word down further, what will we find? Well, for me, my M for the first letter of mother is memorable. I felt my mother was memorable. In fact, everybody felt my mother was memorable. They would come to our houses if they were coming to see us, only to really see my mother. Why? Because she was always in her glory of hanging. She'd hang with anybody, with the kids a minute, tell us what you want us to tell us, cook up some great food, have some funny sayings, and then say, "Oh, time for y'all to go. It's 8 o'clock. It's 7:30, whatever it was." When she put you out, mom. Okay, Rose called her mom. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Jones. Hey, good morning. Good morning. Today we're talking about mother. And so I wanted to know what you called your mother in terms of her title. Did you call her mommy, mama, mom, whatever? Oh, Debbie, that's so sweet that you said hello to Joan. Let's see. Each, if we called our moms her first name, our butts got heated. You better believe it. Now, we never could, but as I said, my older brothers and sisters in my family grew up with our mother. And so she had them very, very young. My mother, I think, might have been married by the time she was 15 or 16, but she had already finished high school because in the portion of the South she lived in, high school was like an accelerated kind of thing. And yet and still my mother could read anything, write anything, tell you if you were wrong, whatever. But once again, it was the period in which she was born in and raised in that certainly said that significantly her life was much different than mine. But anyways, and the older kids called my mother Lily. And I just said, well, why do they call you that? Well, because I was the nosy one. No one ever explained anything for me. After a while, I just had to figure it out. That grandmother lived with us, so they called her mama. Let's see. Deb was mama. I don't like mommy either. Okay. Peace, my sister. I know that's right. Okay, that's right. Hey, good morning. Good morning, OJ. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Today we're talking about what you know about, believed, cared for, loved about your mom, your mother, your mommy, your ma, whatever you called her. As I said, I called my mother mommy, but we never, ever, ever called her Lily. Not the younger kids. In fact, she would turn her head like she would have a spin. Her head would go into a tailspin if we called her by her first name. But the other ones, she would let them do that, but not the younger ones. Younger ones, we grew up as if we were really the children of when she was at an age where mature enough to raise us, so we kind of understood it. But before she was learning along with the other children that she had. But I said memorable for my M. And it says memorable is worth remembering or easily remembered, especially because of being special or unusual. My mother was memorable. As I said, other people just loved my mother or our mother, loved her to the point where, they came to see her. Monarchy, that's really good. Monarchy, ahead of it all. Yes, I love it. Um, Memorable in this case talked about unforgettable or catchy. It says that sometimes we let me show some of the comments are. It says that when somebody is unforgettable, that means you can always have a special feeling about that individual always, because they don't ever, they might be left off for a minute, but when you go to think of them, you can, come up with a whole bunch of things that just satisfies the heart and the head as to who they were. So my mother was that, and it says that they may be catchy or haunting. I like that word, haunting. Indelible, not never to be forgotten. I mean, my mother's been gone, oh my goodness, now 19 years. And I can remember her just as if, it was yesterday or today. I just remember. I can even remember her voice, and part of that had to do with the fact that, that I am a singer. A singer has a tendency to recall things to memory. We just remember where the intonation was. Where did it hit us at, that we remembered it? Messenger, because of the shared stories. Yes, yes, Joan. Yes, yes, yes. Um, Memorable would also be significant, historic, notable. I felt for me, memorable is notable, noteworthy, important. When you have somebody that is memorable to you, they are important. You've made them important, impressive, and distinctive. So for me, that's what I felt about my mother. And so that's why I ask questions, because I can speak to what Sandy thinks, but I ask you, what do you think about what you would use for your word? But messenger is really good, because you think about it, they do show you good stuff about, your parent or the persons that might have raised you. And sometimes we're not fortunate enough to say that our mothers raised us, but we are fortunate sometimes to say that somebody else showed us kindness and love and care, and they stepped in, and that's a good thing. My O, y'all get ready for your O, but my O in mother is optimistic. I always felt my mother was found hope. And hope is a strong, constitutional thing that we can stand on, because sometimes that's all we have. We don't necessarily have all the things that say it's going to turn out a certain way. But when we have hope, that may, in our instance, it may be prayed up, we may be, basically in a position to really say that we know where we're at. We know where we're at. We're very comfortable on how we feel, and it's up. The idea is that we're cheerful about it. It says we could be positive or confident, hopeful, bullish. You can't push us off what we believe about what we believe. And even if somebody came and told me my mother did this, that, and the other thing, I don't care. She showed me what I needed to see, that made it so important, made it believably important, to the point where I saw her optimism even when things were sour or sorrowful. Like when my dad died, my mother never missed a beat. And I think through how she handled everything, I lost my husband at a young age. I knew how to handle stuff. My husband was 39. We're young people, and you're dealing with death. But I had a mother, a praying mother, and a connected mother, and a mother that showed me hope, and that things would change, and that I would still be all right. And I would just call her and talk to her, and she said, "Sweetie, you'll be all right. You will be fine. Trust me on this. You will be fine." And I did. I believe just that. So my optimism that I got from my mother was important. Orderly. Ooh, I love orderly. Oh yes, and I love outstanding. Both of those are great qualities, for motherhood. It says, yes, my mom showed us the thing, us the things in life, all the things in life, or the old things from life. I think that's what you meant, Deb. But anyway, we have to look at what we've been given, and how we deal with it certainly says that we understand our order, because we've been shown order. We've been shown the old and the new. Gotcha. The old and the new, and organized is great, because we need to be organized, even as parents or as daughters. If we're observant, then we see what and how things can be done, especially if we've seen order, we've seen organization, if we've seen optimism, if we've seen all those things that pretty much say they got this old thing down, they have it down. So to me, continue with being optimistic, it says that they're also full of hope, Pollyanna-ish, like they don't care what you say, they still got their own story, and their own story is one of belief. I can't let it go bad, I got to go up, I can't go down. Then you understand this, as they're upbeat, good and cheer, very very favorable on where things are going, and looking at life as rosy. That was my mother. In fact, when stuff was going bad, you never could tell it from her affect on her face, or how her body might have been, positioned in terms of, which, if she was balled up or if she looked like she was open and ready for conversation. My mother handled everything head on, head on. And sometimes we don't even know when we're going to be called on for our own, need to be optimistic, when something is going so bad in a negative direction. But there we are trying to do it. I just say I love the fact that life is what it is. That we know that, the old and the new. But anyway, we also want to talk about my T. My T for mother is tough. Lily was a tough girl, tough. And I thought about so many other words that I could have said, you know, that she was, towering. I felt my mother was this small but towering personality, full of life, full of whatever. And if you got on her nerves, she was full of some bad words for you. I always say that because it's true. Now, I mean, sometimes we're afraid to speak our truth, but I would tell my truth about Lily. And she was just so small, so petite, but no one knew to fool with her. Everybody knew it. They didn't fool with her at all. She was after them. I remember she went after a woman, and I don't know if I told you the story before, but the woman was talking about her. And that's when they had them old telephones that there'd be like, I guess it was like two-way, three-way calls. Somebody else would be on the call. But anyway, my mother was on the phone. Temper. Oh, yes. She had a temper. That's true. Thank you, Debbie. But anyway, the woman said something about my mother. Mother said, listen, I heard you were talking about it, but no, sister, you talking about me without me being there. I'll be right over. So if you've ever seen the movie The Wiz, and you see Eveline down there and she's walking real fast and singing Don't Bring Me No Bad News, that was my mother. That was Lily. And she was walking. Anyway, she went on down there looking for the woman, and she got there and she was gone. And so she walked back a little bit slower. And so, we had our eyes all big as to what happened, And she told my oldest sister, she said the was gone. So so that'll let you know that she was not playing around. She did definitely have a temper. I love that. I'm gonna put that up there. Telepathy. That's right. They do have a sixth sense. Don't mothers have a sixth sense? Come on now. Y'all know. My mother could be in the front seat and know what you're thinking in the back seat. Okay. My mother could be in the other room and know what you're doing in the room that she's not in. That's y'all know what I'm talking about. And you probably did that with your own children. Come on now. You probably did. So anyway, my tough says that they're strong enough to withstand adverse conditions or rough or careless handling. Sometimes, you don't think that they can handle what comes at them. In fact, you can say this about yourself. How many of you have taken on things that you never believed you could handle? And guess what? You came out on the other side cold. You got through it. You got through it. Okay. So, anyway, when we're tough, it says we're going to be durable. Those moms are strong. They're resilient. It says they're resistant, meaning they ain't going just because someone told them to leave. All right. They're sturdy. It says they're rugged. They're firm. They're solid. It says they're indestructible. That was Lily. Indestructible. How about you? Are you indestructible? Are you unbreakable? Are you hard? Can you take care of yourself? Are you stiff? It says rigid, inflexible, toughened, meaning you ain't worried about it. Come on, bring it on. Hard wearing, long lasting, heavy duty, and well built for whatever comes your way. And sometimes we don't even think that we're there. We just don't even think it. We just think that life will be okay. You know, if I just sit in this little corner and nobody bothers me, I won't bother them. Well, I'm telling you, people will come into the corner that you're in and push you out the corner if you don't pay attention. You just have to pay attention to what's really happening. What are people doing to you? And I know my mother was a shield for us. She would always, she wouldn't let other people necessarily discipline us, but she wanted to know what she needed to discipline us with. Now, yes, the neighborhood did rate us by saying, Lily, I saw Sandra down there hanging out at the schoolyard, and she was throwing rocks or whatever it was. And my mother would take care of it. But the neighborhood pretty much informed, Now you better not say nothing to anybody about their children, you know. A mother and her children, they close. They're close. So when we move on, my next letter that I used, which is in mother for H, is helpful. Did you have a helpful mother? Helpful, giving or ready to give help. My mother was always like that, always offering to do something for somebody, you know. Headstrong. Yes. Yes. My mother would be headstrong too. Yes, Debbie. Yes, absolutely. But anyway, it says getting, when somebody is giving and ready to help, it says that they are accessible. My mother was accessible. I believe most of you on here are accessible people. People can find you. You're not far away to give advice or go and give some physical assistance. Whatever you need, whatever is needed, you will answer the call. And I know that's been my life. In fact, sometimes my daughter used to say, "Well, you give so much, Mama. When you going to give to me?" Mm, that would be a battle cry for her to just get more of what I already give her. Okay, that's all it is. It says when someone's helpful, there's an advantageousness to them. They can, it says that they're applicable, meaning you can apply things to them and they're okay. Conducive, meaning they like it. Most people like, you doing things for them. They're constructive. It says they're convenient. You're not going to have to go through several layers of people before you get to them. They're accessible. They're convenient. Cooperative, meaning they're willing to help. My mother was willing to help. I'm willing to help. So that's something I learned. I learned that from my mother. I learned it. It also says that when someone's helpful, they're also friendly. You know, they're friendly. They're letting you know no problems. Historian, yes, I love that, because if you listen to your mother, they're going to tell you some things that you can also pass on to your children, or it's healthy forwardness for yourself. That's how I look at that. And humility, yes, both of those words are great. Because how many of us understand humility? A parent does, a mother does. She understands humility easily. Humbleness, just being humble, period. Helpful also talks about it being essential. Like I used to look at some of the things that my mother would do for me. And I just remember at one point in time saying, there's no way I could live without my mother. There's no way. But over time, as you see them changing their ability to be helpful and useful and in a place of where they're comfortable and living well, then I believe that you are also given a new form of strength, a new form of toughness, a new form of understanding, where you're able to see your parent as they are less able to do all the things that were once very helpful to you and giving and caring and loving. So you understand that the order is that as they go down, you become the one who is more helpful, more tough, more willing, more able to do what they can't do. You know, historian is good. Yes, it is. When I move further along, and I want, the last two things, it says that they're invaluable. Helpful also says that they're invaluable and very practical. My mother was practical. She would make sense out of stuff. In fact, she always would tell people that she was broke. And I just remember once she passed that everything was already taken care of. Her funeral arrangements, everything. And this was a woman that was born, 10 years into the 19th century, and I'm thinking, wow, oh my goodness. And the funny thing about it is I ended up being like a real change of life baby, because I guess my mother was very fertile, because there's 10 of us, and the different ages between my older siblings and myself was up to 30 years. 30 years between the top one and myself when I was born. So that's a lengthy period of time to have children. So there you go. But my mother was, for my E, was efficient. Okay, my mother was efficient. She knew achieving maximum productivity with minimum wasted effort or expense. That was Lily. She always acted like she didn't have a dime and she didn't have this and didn't have that, but she was, yes, Debbie, effective. Absolutely. And she economized. Absolutely. Both of those are great. Great answers. My mother knew how to take a dollar and squeeze it. Where they always said, squeeze it till it hollers. My mother could take that same dollar, make it into change, and when all was said and done, everything was paid for, and she still had 50 cents. She was just that wise. She was that wise. I'm not quite as wise, but I'm not bad. I'm not bad. I haven't squeezed anything that makes it holler, but I know how to do what I need to do. Good morning, Rhonda. How are you doing? Missed you. We already started. We're on the E of mother, but Rhonda's also another good mother. Great woman. My niece in New York, and she takes care of. Hey, Sharon Jones, how are you, my sweet friend? There's another mother. Lots of mothers coming on this morning. I love it. I love it. I love it. So far, we dealt with mother, and we dealt with it in such a way that, for me, I said my mother was memorable, optimistic, tough, helpful, and now I'm on efficient. Lily was efficient. So it says achieving maximum productivity and minimum wasted effort or expense. So my mother was methodical. She paid attention. When a bill came, the bill was already paid by the end of the day. She said, oh, I got to go do some business downtown. I said, well, Mom, the bill just came. She said, nope, got to go pay, my bell. That's what we called it, which was AT&T now, but it used to be called my bell in New York. And so my mother had to pay it. And then it was Mohawk Lights. My mother knew all of these bills. She knew the day they hit her mailbox. She immediately got them, and then she would walk to pay the bill. Occasionally, she would take the bus back, but most of the time she'd walk there and she'd walk back, doing 8 miles to 10 miles a day. That was her. Easy going is my E. Okay, easy going is good. Easy going. I love it. It also says that they're systematic, structured, okay, well planned, logical. Like if my mother said that there were two tickets available, both gave you entrance to the same event. My mother said, we don't have to be up close. We ain't paying that kind of money. so so we would sit in the middle or in the back. And she said, I can still see and I can still hear. But we're not going to pay just to be closer to see them and hear them. So she wouldn't do it. But anyway, I like logical and coherent, well regulated, well run. That was my mother. My mother treated her life like it might have been a little business thing going on. She said, "No, what's the investment? What's the rate of investment? What's the return?" She would ask questions. What's the return? Why? Why do we want to go there? I would always get so tickled that she would say that. Okay, also, it says that they're business-like. See, I wasn't even there yet. And they're streamlined. They will take something, and if it's large, they will streamline it to make it more manageable. That was definitely my mother. And it says they're productive and effective individuals. They know how to get things done. So thank you all. You all are really falling in there this morning. Thanks. Okay, my last letter for my R. Let me see if everybody can chime in on this. Let me have you R first. Put down something for R. What would you say about your mother that's an R? Let me see if someone comes up with what I put down. Let's see. Rhonda, you have something? Deb, Sharon, radioactive. I love radioactive. Reasonable and rational. Okay, that's good. Reasonable and rational. Anybody else? A rebel. Ooh, reasonable. Okay. Somebody else? Resourceful. Oh, I love that too. Yes. We got a lot of R's. Reasonable and rational. Radioactive. Rebel. Respectful. Yes. My mother, you disrespected her. She would let you know it immediately. It did not go like a minute after you said it. You regretted it. Period. Then also resourceful. All those are great. Okay, for me, I have realistic. My mother was just real, having or showing a sensible and practical idea of what can be achieved or expected. My mother would always ask the question, did it make sense? She said, well, I don't think we need to go down there yet. Maybe Monday, maybe Friday, except if it's for a bill that I'm going down right now. But everything else, she made it realistic to herself. Okay, so for me, that meant my mother was practical, pragmatic, matter of fact. You didn't have to worry about what else she thought. Okay, she was gonna let you know. Down to earth, sensible, rational, logical. There's that word again. Reasonable. Okay, level-headed. Somebody wrote something about the head, but anyway, my mother was definitely level-headed. Clear-sighted, meaning that she had a vision for herself and others, that were involving her. If it was just you, don't ask her opinion because she's going to give it to you. She'd give it to you. Hard-headed. There you go, Debbie. Hard-headed. And it says sober, meaning she wasn't caught up in anything that would take the ability of her brain to be, mushy with, anything that was even relatable to alcohol or something that would not be clear. She was sober. She was basically, I'm clear. I'm going to tell you what you need to know. It says, at times they could be unromantic because it's so blatantly obvious what they intend to say. And they said, and they have a tendency sometimes to be unsentimental. And sometimes my mother said, well, I don't know why you're crying. You did it. That's when we were little, when we were young. But it taught us humility, just to understand that she meant what she was saying. And, not to do things wrong was one thing, but to know how to do them right was even better, was even better. Don't even get to the position that you have to be sorry, just don't do it. She would always say, think about it earlier, and when I was little, I was always the kid that wanted to do something for everybody. And she said, but with that, you have to also give caution. I used to sell little things for Campfire Girls and different little organizations I was in, but I would let people have the product before I got the money. And so my mother said, so how much did you raise today? And I was counting money I didn't have. And I said, oh, I remember one time I had sold, I thought I had sold like 5 boxes of these, special chocolates and stuff. And my mother said, well, where's the money? I said, oh, Miss So-and-so is going to give it to me. She said she'll give it to me tomorrow. My mother said, when has she ever given anybody anything on time? In fact, she has a tendency to forget that she even gave her something, even though whatever you gave her, she can't find. That's because she consumed it. So anyway, that got me to thinking. I said, Mommy, what if I don't get the money? She said, that means you're going to have to work harder at babysitting or something to get the money that you've given away. You can't give money away before, you've really earned it. You can't give the product, that's money. That's how you have to look at things. See, once again, that makes sense to me now but I had to get out of being 9 or 10 to understand what she really really meant, that people will tell you one thing and they will not follow through on what they said, such as pay you. That's still true today. Anyway, a ruler says, do you remember the song Me is for the many things she gave me? O means only that she's growing old. T is for the tears she shed like butter. H is for the heart as pure as gold. E is her eyes that shine like diamonds. R is the right she'll always be. Put it all together, they spell mother, a word that means the world to me. Oh, thank you so much. What a great, oh my God, you guys are wonderful this morning. So into it. Educator is good. I love that. That's true, because I believe we were educated by our mothers. Some of us might have been hard headed and we didn't learn right away, but eventually it made sense to us. And yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, everybody. This was a great lesson. I learned some stuff from you all. And thank you, Marion, for that poem at the end. I do remember that song. I do. And I started to put that in, but I gave the little quotes in the beginning. But listen, I want you all to think ahead of time. If you still have a mother, or even if you don't have your mother still with you, find somebody to be sweet to sometime during this week or up to when we celebrate Mother's Day. It doesn't mean that they're your mother, but what it does mean is that you are giving something just out of the goodness, kindness, care, love from your heart. That's all I want you to do. Find somebody, do something special. Be who your mother has instilled some goodness in you. Give some of that goodness away. Okay. I remember the song, Marion. Well, look, you guys have a great, 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 great couple of days. I'll see you on Wednesday. I think either Wednesday or Friday, I may have another guest come in and do a word with me. But I'm so excited for you all. Thank you for doing this platform with me. And if you don't do anything else, hit share and let other people understand that we're trying to make a difference here. That's all it is. I love you. I love you, and I love you. And happy mothers that you are, to be a friend to me. I appreciate it. Thank you. See you soon. Bye bye.